friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily. And as I was just saying, I am so excited to be joined today by Demián Rugna, who is the writer and director and occasional composer, but more directly of When Evil Lurks, is the film we're here to talk about today. It's your fifth film, and it's receiving a wonderful 4K UHD limited edition release from the fine folks at Second Sight Films, and that'll be out on July 28th of 2025. But I think a lot of our viewers and readers will know you from both Aterrados, Terrified, as well as When Evil Lurks. So, Demian, thank you so much for just taking some time to speak with us today.
Oh, thank you. It's a honor. Nice to meet you, Matt. Well, thank you for what you said.
Oh,
And
well,
I'm happy for being here.
well, it's I said it's a pleasure's all here, and I know we don't have that much time, so I'm just going to dive right into some questions. And the first of which is, When Evil Lurks is your fifth film, and it's, I would say, potentially your darkest film of the ones that you've made. How has your filmmaking evolved from The Last Gateway in 2007 to 2023 when Evil Lurks debuted?
Mm. How is it? How was the process? What is the difference between those?
How have
Well, I
you
don't
as a
know.
filmmaker changed, you know?
Yes, I changed a lot. I grew up. I learned a lot. Anyway, I watching the process and watching the last gateway uh, after 20 years, and in the context of how I did that movie, and and how was the Latin American movies of horror in that period of time. I'm still very proud of the last gateway. um, yes, okay, probably is aged now, but in that moment, I wasn't the luck that that movie is supposed to have. Um, yeah, and it was 5 minute movies in the middle, incredible. But I'm the same in conscience, because when if you see the Last Gateway, it's a movie with a lot of effects and monsters, and without money to make it, and experience to make it. And the unconscious is the same, because when I wrote Bonnie Lurks, I make a dog scene, uh, almost impossible to make with the budget that I had. So the connection are the same in conscience, and I guess I'm the same idiot, 20, 2005.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd use that word. I think you might be genius. But and for those that are wondering, you can actually watch some of your older films on your website. You've got links to YouTube. So The Last Gateway is actually on Tubi for those that have access to that. And then you can even watch um, the Maldito Sean is available there as well. So I recommend folks check out your website if they want to see some of the older works that are maybe harder to get for us here in North America. But you've mentioned before in other interviews that you're a big fan of dark comedies, and even in Aterrados, there's a bit of humor. As the detectives approach the body of the boy in the kitchen. Um, what is it about the combination of humor and horror that excites you?
I explore the horror because of humor. I mean, I used to have a black humor all the time, with my partners, with my friends. I'm all the time making jokes with black humor, and for me, make a movie is like make a horror movie is like make a big joke, because I want you scared, because I want to love you. Um, but the point is at the same time is the process to make a good scare is similar to make a good joke, to make you need to have the timing, you need to have the rhythm to do not give the audience the chance to anticipate the result. If you are making a comedy scene, uh, you need to surprise the audience all the time. That is the rhythm of you are talking, how you are placing the camera, how is your edition, to do not anticipate the choke at the end of the at the end of the scene. And I guess the horror is the same. The horror is to balance of timing, of humor, but making horror. And for me, the black humor is part of my life and is part of my horror. And I don't I'm not conscious about the humor when I wrote because when I write because the humor came along
Hmm.
and I cannot deny it. I cannot say yes or not. It came because I'm myself has a lot of humor. So it's one of the ingredients of my filmography, but I don't have uh, the conscious to when I use it. That's the point.
And it's almost like kind of the dark humor horror combination reminds me a lot of another film, um, the Coffee Table, right, from Calle Casas,
Yeah.
where it has that very heavy kind of undertone of horror, but at the same time, you're watching this almost comedy of errors occur throughout the
Yeah.
course of the movie. And
I'm big fan of Calle Casas, and I am big friend. We used to share. If you take a look on my Instagram, we used to share a lot of festivals, and we made friends because we share the same horror and the same black humor.
well, I'd love to see you do a film together. That would be outstanding. And you both are riding high on the
No, no,
successes.
I won't make a film with him because he's a big friend, but he's stupid. I will never make a movie with the stupid.
Well, in that case, then I will root for your individual careers separately. But you know, I I think when Evil Lurks, it's fair to say it's a much more bleak film than some of your previous works. And I'm curious to know what was going through your head when you were writing it that caused it, that ended up creating this kind of very, um, you know, bleak, almost apocalyptic world that's without religion, without God, and now just has people trying to survive.
Well, the idea to not have God or have no religion is, or in my movies, used to do not have religion at this moment. The religion are not the solution of my movies. I'm more on this one because I said I want to make a possession movie. I want to make an exorcism movie, but without religion. And how could I do that? Sorry, it's my dog is barking. It's not the dog of one of your loves, it's little one. And but I said I don't want the a religious movie. I don't want to have the priest that give the solution of everything as used to happen. And I don't want the process of the exorcism that is, um, I don't know, it's around, I don't know, 100 movies, an exorcism, making an exorcism, and the monster shouting him. I don't know. I try to make something extremely different. So I kill the religion, killing God.
Well, I think you succeeded because you've taken the possession film out of religion, right? And I think that that's an important note because your rotten are far more terrifying than anything we've seen in religious horror context because they act almost entirely on impulse and without any concern about who they were or what they were before. Whereas in most possession films, there's that internal struggle between the person that was and the person and the demon inside, whereas now the rotten in When Evil Lurks are just they're forsaken. They're without saving at this point. Um, and I think that leads it to an obvious question around the violence, that happens, not just in this film. You've throughout a lot of your filmography, you've been very adept at using practical effects and digital to kind of complement the experience. How much of the violence is part of the script that you wrote, or how much of it is kind of a in the moment collaboration between you and the visual effects teams that you're working on to realize the idea?
No, no, the violence were in the script. It was no, no. I mean, if you mean if we develop it after, no, 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 because I wrote the script in all my movies. I'm writer director, and I used to make my storyboards. And when I work with my effects artist, I go with them with my storyboard. Obviously, I'm open to have suggestions and changes and additions, but used to be as I thought. Um, well, sometimes, yeah, you can find something in the shooting or another angle, and or probably the prosthetic give you another chance to do something different, and you change something in the moment. But what happened more easily is that the effect fails when you are shooting and you need to change everything. But whenever Lurs was a really we make what we plan it. We planify. Um, no, no. I used to make the storyboard and engage with the storyboard 100%.
Do you have a particularly favorite effects shot from either When Evil Lurks or any of your films that you're particularly proud of?
Yes. I'm proud of the scene where the mother is eating the brain of the child. Um, no, no, because what is happening is because all the scene was really really hard to make with a circular dolly and the car running over the woman in the windshield, then crashing through the tree. It was a tremendous scene, and it results. And I say, yes, it works. It's okay. I'm proud.
I
I'm
actually
proud of that.
I mean, I would that's my personal favorite scene from the movie is because it's so subtle, where you see the mother walking and you don't really know what's happening yet, and then when it comes into view, you see the brother kind of slink down into his seat like he doesn't want to be seen, and it's so without there's no dialogue, it's just so potent and terrible and horrifying in that moment. Yeah, I absolutely love that particular scene. And I know that Shudder has been a big supporter of both, Terrified as well as When Evil Lurks. But was there at any point they asked you, "Hey, do you need to tone this down a bit," or were they fully on board for everything that you had planned?
Thank God they support me. Uh, at the end, they didn't say anything. They didn't uh, ban me. No, no, no. I received their support 100%, and it was the result of this movie because I had the freedom to make what I want.
Wow, that's great to hear because I know that Shudder is often a champion of genre, and something that we look up to as kind of, in the publishing space as a beacon of hope and for horror films. And I want to talk a little bit about the collaboration with Second Sight. How did that come about? Because it's When Evil Lurks is a relatively newer film, and Second Sight, a lot of boutique labels will tend to defer to older films, kind of giving them, remasters and restorations. But Obviously, Second Sight's been doing a little bit of work with more recent films and genre. So how did this approach and collaboration with you come about?
Well, it was really, I guess, with a lot of love. Um, what the company proposed me, uh, they took care of everything. Even we are having a press release conversation with a lot of press, and it never happened with Blu-ray uh, release previously in the world with my movies, and it means they took very seriously uh, this this show and this release of Whenever Lurks. The feedback was great. They had a lot of patience to wait me to give them the extra bonus and the interviews, everything. And I'm very proud to them having me in their catalog, which is incredible.
I mean, truly, they're one of the best, I'd say, out there today as far as what they're putting forward in terms of packaging and editorializing these
Yeah.
films. But also, I hope that they give the same treatment to, Aterrados at some point, because that film deserves a similar kind of, you know, deluxe
I
box set.
I know I know whenever there's gonna be a big success in the release, and they will say, okay, now the people want the the release of Terrifying with the same company. I would
Yep.
love that.
Yeah, and even including the old short, Tiene Miedo, in there as
Yeah.
well, so people can see the
And
idea to the.
something that they never have of Terrified Blu-ray is the audio comments.
I'd love to hear it. I mean, again, if Second Sight's watching this, please do it for us. But the film has been such a success that I've heard news recently, and you can confirm or this or not, that you're working on a sequel.
I
So
cannot, I cannot, I cannot say anything. They showed me they almost killing me to say that. I only said I wrote the script that I don't have the money to make it. That it doesn't mean I'm working on that.
that's fair. That's fair. And I also had heard before that Terrified was going to get a sequel as well. Um, but is
Let's
that is
hope.
that something you wrote out as well, or is that more of just an idea taken out of context?
Only I can say. I have the script for both. Oh, sorry. I need. There you are. My little dog is in my hand now.
Oh, that's
Um, I,
okay.
I I only can say I wrote script for both sequel, but okay, we need the money, we need the studios, we need everything more for make that movie. So I don't know if it's gonna happen, if it will happen, and if I will be the director. I would love to be the director of any sequel of both movies, but you don't know how the career is going to happen. For
That's true. Well, I hope that if it does move forward, that you have a significant hand in the creative process, whether it's as a director, or just kind of final say on what gets into the final cuts, all of that, because you clearly have a distinct vision that is working. I think for a lot of genre fans, who myself have been, I'm 40 years old and been watching horror movies for as long as I can remember, and few films have been as affecting as Aterrados and When Evil Lurks. So, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And my last question for you, is um, there's a lot of when Evil Lurks released at a very interesting time. We were just coming out of a global pandemic. We were trying to adjust to a new normal. There's also a level of almost political kind of subtext to the film where you have this unwillingness from the government to want to try and remove the rotten. And at the same time, the people don't even want to acknowledge that they have a rotten in their town. Um, what was there, is there any message kind of underneath that that you were trying to put across, or is this more just kind of trying to set up the most bleak possible scenario with and make it as hopeless as possible?
No, it's obviously um, it's a struggle of our societies, the low class, mid class, the high class, and obviously the absence of government, the state, and the idea of more actually down here in Argentina to take care of yourself idea or to destroy the state um, is is something that we are dealing with in Argentina in this moment, in this period of in this new government, and the hate growing around our heads, around the world, is part of this movie. And what I feel is when I wrote it. The sense of this movie came from another movie that I never wrote, but I always thought in my mind, and it was really political movie. When I decided to translate that political movie to a horror movie, I never wanted to make a political movie. I wanted to make a horror movie, but the sense of what happened in my society is is uh, I cannot avoid. I cannot avoid. It came with my writing. It came in my hand. It came in my construction of characters and construction of the reality. And the reality is this, and the realism that I want to transmit in the screen is came with all of our problems as society. So you can see, you can identify them.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more relatable now than it was even in 2023, this idea that the state is
Yeah,
abandoning the most vulnerable people. I
yeah,
know as someone who lives in the United States, we're seeing this firsthand, right?
yeah.
uh,
And the idea, look, when I wrote it, I I wrote it at the end. Uh, the new generation taking the hand of the devil and going to the sun to disappear. To you don't know what is going to happen with the next generation, but the symbolic last scene was for me something. When I wrote it, I said, yes, the new generation are grown, and it what happened. What happened is in Argentina after that is the new generation uh, choose the worst president and the worst government and the extreme rights down here. And it came along. I mean, I didn't invent that. I it's just a reflection of our reality too.
yeah. Well, Demian, I hate to leave it on such a somber note, but I do want to say that this has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you and remind everyone watching this that you can pick up the new deluxe limited edition of When Evil Lurks from Second Sight on July 28th. There's also a standard edition available, but you should definitely spring for the limited edition with all the essays and beautiful box art. So, Demian, I'm really looking forward to whatever you work on next, and you've always got a fan with myself and the team
Thank
here
you,
at Macabre Daily.
Matt. Thank you.